Hey guys, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Be ready, the dogs are in here, so you're probably going to hear a lot of background noise, and I am sorry for that, but this is my channel and that's what happens. Today we are going to talk about Eliza Fletcher's case, kind of do a quick review for people that aren't super familiar with the case or maybe have forgotten some of the details. If you want, there's a playlist for her of all of the previous videos, and we're going to talk about the autopsy that came out. And a lot of what's in the autopsy is disturbing, so we have a new trigger warning bunny that I will throw up here when we're talking about stuff that may not be comfortable for everybody to listen to. That way you can kind of fast forward until you don't see the bunny anymore, and then you know it's safe to come back. So hopefully that is something that you will appreciate. My husband thought it was silly and my daughter loved it, so I think it's cute. Let's see. Don't need to have that up there yet, because first we're just going to kind of review the case before we get into the details of the autopsy. So let's see. Got my handy dandy notes. As you guys know, I always rely on my notes. So Eliza was a 34-year-old preschool teacher, and she was the mother of 2 little boys. She was the heiress to a family fortune. Her grandpa had started a hardware chain, and it was worth $3 billion. And she was the heiress to that fortune, but rather than rely on the family money, she wanted to give back, and she became a teacher, and she really loved her students, and she was very loved by them and the entire community. She was just a really wonderful person. She was abducted while out jogging near the University of Memphis campus on Friday morning, September 2nd. She always got up. This was her daily routine. She always went for her run around 4. She was a marathon runner. She had even qualified for the Boston Marathon. She had run distance track in college. So she always ran, I think it was 8 miles or maybe more every day. And this was her normal route. And that has come up a lot about not being predictable and changing up your routine. In case you do have a stalker or anything like that, it just makes you more of an easy target. I get that, but at the same time, you know, it's just horrible that we live in a world where we can't just go and do what we want to do, where we want to do it, when we want to do it. But sadly, that's our reality. So around 4 a.m. on that Friday morning, she left home on her regular run. Surveillance footage picked up a black 2013 GMC Terrain stalking Eliza for 24 minutes before she was abducted. So he had driven by her and then came back and pulled off like in a parking lot or a parking area. And when she ran by is when he got her. He was basically just laying in wait. At 4:20 a.m., surveillance footage showed a man aggressively approach Eliza and force her into the SUV. Separate footage captured Eliza and her abductor struggling, and then the vehicle remained stationary in a parking lot for 4 minutes before driving off. Police later said there were signs that she had been severely injured in the attack. At 6:45 a.m., a passing cyclist finds Eliza's phone and water bottle on the ground near where she was abducted. Unaware of what had happened, he rode over to her family's home to return it. So I'm not sure how he found out. I think he was able to contact her family using her phone, and that's how he knew where to return the phone. But he took the phone back to her husband. And at 7, the husband called in the missing persons report. The cyclist had also found a pair of Champion Slide sandals at the scene, and police would later be able to use DNA from those sandals to identify their suspect. So at 7 a.m., Memphis police received a call from Eliza's husband, Richard, saying she had not returned home from her run. Around this time, University of Memphis also phoned the police. Forensic testing from the sandals was matched to Cleotha Abston, a violent felon who spent 20 years in prison for kidnapping. Investigators traced his cell phone records, placing him at the scene at the time Eliza was abducted. So I've got a few pictures here that I want to put up. This is just kind of a map of where everything happened. There's a picture of the slides. You can see where she started, number 1. Number 2 is where she was abducted. I don't know where number 3 is. Oh, there we are. Number 3 is where the suspect was seen on video cleaning out his car. Number 4 is where he was eventually arrested. 5 is where Eliza's remains were eventually found. And 6 is where a trash bag containing Eliza's shorts were found. This is Cleotha Abston, the suspect. Like I said, he had spent 20 years in prison for a previous kidnapping. And hang on a second. Sorry, my big white fluffy dog that I call the polar bear is wrestling with another dog, and yeah. Anyway, he had previously, I believe he was 16 years old when it happened. He kidnapped an attorney and put him in the trunk of his own car and drove around and had the attorney withdrawing money from ATMs. Then they went to, I believe it was some sort of convenience store type place, and the attorney was able to tell a security guard that he had been kidnapped and call 911. Cleotha and his buddies took off running on foot and were eventually arrested. The lawyer was fine. He has since passed, but Cleotha went to jail. He was sentenced to 24 years and he served 20. Now, one thing about this case that you need to know that is really upsetting, well, a few things. He had only been out for about 1.5 years, 2 years, I believe, when this happened to Eliza. So, according to his sentencing, he should have still been in there, but due to what we'll just call prison math, they get time taken off their sentence. They can earn a certain amount of time every day, and then they also can get time taken off for completing different programs while they are in prison. And however all of that was figured up, he was released. Also, Cleotha had essayed another woman during that time that he had been out before this happened to Eliza, but due to how slowly these essay kits are processed, it had not come back yet. The results of that eventually do come back, but it's after this happened to Eliza. Now, had they gotten that done in a timely manner, Cleotha likely would have already been locked up and this never would have happened because his DNA was matched to that essay kit. So that's upsetting, that's very frustrating, but it's something that we need to know, that there are flaws in our system, and I understand that the amount of evidence that needs to be processed is overwhelming. It's very crazy how much there is out there that is just sitting and waiting to be processed in so many criminal cases. But it doesn't lower my frustration when you see things happen like this that didn't have to happen had there not been that delay. So I wanted to let you know that I'm going to take Cleotha down and focus on Eliza. Okay, so at 10:45 a.m. on Saturday, September 3rd, U.S. Marshals located a black SUV matching the description of the vehicle seen in the surveillance footage in a parking lot close to Abston's home on Waterstone Oak Way. They see Abston standing in the doorway of the home, and after a short pursuit, he is taken into custody. Police say 2 witnesses, including Abston's brother Mario, saw him cleaning the GMC SUV with floor cleaner and washing his clothes in a sink. Mario was separately charged for possessing materials to manufacture heroin and fentanyl, and he said that his brother had been acting strange. When questioned by police, Cleotha Abston refused to cooperate. Sunday, September 4th, Memphis police announced Abston has been charged with abduction and tampering with evidence. Monday, September 5th, police filed additional charges against Abston for identity theft, theft of property under $1,000, and fraudulent use of a credit card. Those charges stem from, apparently he was working for some sort of cleaning company, people that come in and clean office buildings and things like that. Someone had left their wallet at work, and Cleotha took it and was using their credit card, and that's what those charges are for. Just after 5 p.m. on Monday evening, officers found a body behind an abandoned duplex in the 1600 block of Victor Street in South Memphis, about a half mile from Abston's home. So let's take a look at that. This is where they found the body. You can see it's very overgrown. Like I said, it was abandoned. Let me see here. Yeah, we're getting to it. Okay, just hold on. We're getting there. Tuesday, September 6th at around 8:45 a.m., police confirmed in a tweet that the body found Monday evening was Eliza. They say additional charges of first-degree murder and first-degree murder in perpetration of a kidnapping have been filed against Abston. Investigators from Memphis PD and federal and state partners who had been searching for Eliza provided extra details on how they located her. They noticed vehicle tracks in the tall grass leading to a vacant duplex at 1666. I hate that address. 1666. Really? Kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies, doesn't it? They noticed vehicle tracks in tall grass leading to a vacant duplex at 1666 Victor Street at 5:07 p.m. on Monday. So you can see how overgrown it is. They saw the tracks. The grass was obviously laid down from him driving over it. A search and rescue officer smelled an odor of decay and spotted a set of footprints in the rear driveway. Bless you. He then saw an unresponsive female lying on the ground. Bless you. I don't know which dog that is, but wow. I got the sneezies. Okay. So here we have them searching. This is the back where she would eventually be found. You can see them searching. And she would be found in this shallow grave by the steps in the back of the duplex. The person matched the description of Eliza. She was pronounced dead by the medical examiner shortly afterwards. Police found a pair of purple Lululemon running shorts that were consistent with the pair Eliza was wearing when she disappeared in a trash bag nearby. Surveillance footage showed Abson's black GMC Terrain nearby between 5:48 a.m. and 5:52 a.m. the Friday that she disappeared. So that is just a very, like a highlight reel of the case, I guess, that kind of brings you to where we are. Like I said, there is a playlist of videos for Eliza if you want to go back and hear more details about the case, about his charges, about his court appearances. It's all there. Now we're going to throw up the trigger warning bunny because we're going to get into the autopsy. This is definitely not for everyone. There are some graphic details. The only reason that I'm going to get into those is because I want you to see the gravity of what happened to this woman, what this man did, and he didn't cooperate to help them find her. It's devastating that she was returned to her family in this manner. So if you don't want to listen to this part, like I said, go ahead and start fast forwarding. And when you don't see the trigger warning bunny anymore, then we're done talking about it. So I will give you a second. Okay, now we're going to dive into this autopsy. So her body had to be identified by her fingerprints. She died from a gunshot wound to the back of the head fired at an indeterminate range. No projectile was recovered, but a bullet casing was found at the scene, so there by the shallow grave. She had blunt force injuries consisting of contusions and subcutaneous hemorrhage of the right leg and jaw fractures. She was in a state of moderate to advanced decomp. Her cause of death was gunshot wound and blunt force injury of the head. Method of death was homicide. And this is where it's going to start to get a bit graphic. The majority of her skull and facial bones were exposed. Extensive insect activity had occurred. Her hair and scalp were detached from the body, and it was still in a bun with 3 hair ties. The exposed bones of the face show multiple fractures. Her eyes, left ear, nose, lips, tongue, and brain were absent due to the insect activity. She was wearing a pink ring on her left ring finger and 3 black hair ties. No clothing was received. Toxicology revealed fentanyl and metabolite norfentanyl, which the norfentanyl is produced after when you take any type of drug, it produces what's called a metabolite as your body breaks it down. So this indicates that she had taken the fentanyl and it was in her system long enough that her body had begun to break it down. The concentration of fentanyl was 10 nanograms per milliliter, and studies show as little as 5 nanograms per milliliter can be fatal. Okay, let me take trigger warning bunny down. They did perform a SA kit on her, but due to insect activity, that area of her body had been greatly affected as well. So the results of that were not included in the autopsy. I don't know if they got anything back from that or not, but it did state that they had taken swabs of the area. Also, an interesting note, her stomach contents, of course, she had her last meal. It kind of sounded like maybe a smoothie. There was one strand of black wavy hair in her stomach, and they bagged it separately and marked it as hair from stomach. I don't know if that is from Cleotha or not. Maybe when she was fighting him, she bit him or whatever. But she did have one black hair in her stomach contents. Give everybody a second if they are coming back. So, as I said, the only reason that I included such graphic content was because I wanted you to know the extent of what this poor woman went through. And I wanted you to consider the condition that her body was returned to her family in. Obviously, her children could not have seen her one last time. Her husband, her parents, nobody would have been able to see her one last time because of the condition that she was in. And that's heartbreaking. So, when we are moving forward with this case, when Cleotha finally goes to court, hopefully this time this man is never going to get out. I think the fact that he did not cooperate at all in helping to locate her body will work against him. Hopefully he will be locked up for the rest of his life this time, and he cannot do this to anyone else. But I want you to remember what we just discussed, and just remember how important it is to get justice for Eliza, for her kids, her husband, her whole entire family. And after reading that, I can't imagine what they're still going through. I would have nightmares. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers, to give them comfort, to give them strength, and just to be able to feel all the love and care and compassion around them. And let's pray that the investigators and the prosecutors can build a strong enough case to keep this guy locked up for good this time. So, thank you all for joining me this morning. I've got a football game in about 25 minutes, so I'm going to hop off of here and hopefully enjoy that. Hopefully we win this week. And I hope y'all have a beautiful Saturday. Whatever you're doing, I hope it's fun, relaxing, whatever you want it to be. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Boomer Sooner.